Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. This is the firework phobia series, looking at why dogs are afraid of fireworks and how we can help them. In this episode, we're looking at what we can do on a big fireworks night to help our dogs to cope with the loud bangs and noises that are going on. So in a previous episode, we looked at counter conditioning. That is something you're going to do up towards the night. Say it's the 5th of November coming up. This is in the UK. Obviously in other countries you'll have different times of year when you're going to have big nights. Usually it's 5th of November, and New Year's is a big one for fireworks around here, though to be fair you'll get fireworks throughout. So you know there's got a big fireworks coming up. Perhaps your neighbours have said to you, oh, we're having this big fireworks display, or there's a public display going on, so you know there's a big event coming out. How do you make sure your dog is in the best place to keep them safe during that time and to enable them to cope with fireworks? Even if you've been doing your counter conditioning, you probably still got a dog that's noise sensitive and might react. So you're going to be ready and primed with your treats. That's one. Right. First off, we're going to make sure we're exercising our dogs in daylight hours or at the latest early evening. If we got to walk them after dark when fireworks might go off, don't walk them off lead, because if your dog is off lead and there's a big bang, your dog can bolt. So you're going to walk them on lead so they're still getting out. Making sure they're exercised before the night comes on is really good, because when a dog is slightly more tired and it's going to be more relaxed anyway, but it's going to be less reactive to noises depending on its temperament. It's going to be more chilled out. So it's a good way to start. Next, we're going to be looking at where our dog is in the house. We're not going to be leaving them out in a kennel outside. We're not going to open the door and let them wander out in the garden by themselves on the night, because we can't control what's happening. Obviously, we might need to take our dogs out to go to the toilet at some point, but we'll get to that. But we're not going to put them in a position where they're exposed to fireworks without any protection. We're going to have them somewhere in the house. Ideally, it would actually be a room that's an internal room. Now, not all of us have an internal room, but if you've got an internal room that hasn't got any windows to the outside world, so it could even be a hallway where you can shut them all into. You've got to be with them, you're not to leave them alone, but if you can shut them as much as possible to insulate them from the sound, that is going to be vital. So you want to pick a room, you're going to make sure the curtains are drawn, the windows are shut. If you've got a room where you can put a lot of soft furnishings around, if it's that sort of room, it's good because it insulates from sound. You're going to have some safe place for your dog to go if it needs it. Obviously, you want to be the main source of comfort for your dog if they choose you. You're not going to force your dog to come to you for comfort. That's just, it's counterintuitive. If your dog wants to come to you for comfort, then it should be able to. This might mean that your dog gets up on the sofa with you. So rather than sitting in the armchair, which is just you, maybe you're going to sit on the sofa so that if your dog needs to, it can come up next to you for comfort. If your dog is less inclined to come to you for comfort, then what it maybe would like is a safe place where it can go. What dogs like is an covered, enclosed space where they can feel secure. I have a soft crate, which is it's a covered crate, so it hasn't got only the front has got mesh on it, all the rest is like an enclosed crate, so the dogs can get in there. And Sparrow, well, she's over there, she actually is quite happy to go in that crate anytime. That's why it's still there, if I'm honest with you. It's not there because I choose to have it, it's because she loves that crate so much. She goes in there when she's got something to eat or whatever, she likes to be in there. So that would be her comfy, safe place. It's near, and I would put it near me. It is near me, but you would have it near you, so the dog can get to it, and the dog can just bolt into it if it needs to, and that'll be that'll have a nice cozy bed in it, and that'll be all secure, and the dog can bolt in there if it needs to, if it's afraid. So we want to make sure they've got somewhere they can feel safe to get to, but they're not alone. And that I'm going to stress again and again: don't leave your dog alone on fireworks night, or any night when you think there might be fireworks going off, because especially if your dog is scared of fireworks, because you're not going to achieve anything. If you leave that dog downstairs overnight in a crate and there's fireworks going off, all you're achieving is your dog's going to get stressed up and stewed up. Now, of course, if you've got a dog that isn't worried, well, you're probably not going to even be watching this video, so that's not a problem. But if you've got a dog that's any form of noise sensitivity, and if you've got a new puppy that you've just gotten around fireworks time, definitely do not leave that puppy on its own when there's loud noise is going to be likely to go up. because you do not want to start a problem. Okay, so you've got your room set up, primed. You're going to have the telly on or a radio on, something quite loud. Put it on, well, whatever you like to watch, your favourite programme, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything particular, really. You know, you might not watch telly in the evening that much. You might prefer to read, but something on, something noise on, to counteract the noises outside. Doesn't mean your dog won't hear them, but it means that your dog will hopefully be able to hear them less. There'll be other noises going on around them, and if they're far enough away, the firework's far enough away, it might not be they'll react too badly to them. Hopefully. This is all trying to sort of, you know, do the best we can. As we talked about before, we're going to have some really good treats to hand. We're going to have, or a toy, whatever is the most high value to your dog. And you're going to be ready. So if there's a loud bang goes off, you're going to be ready with either a toy or your treats to counter condition that noise. It might not be that easy first off. It might be that your dog hears that loud bang and ends up shivering under the table. You know, if they're like that, you're not going to get a lot of them. What you can do is you can go sit with them. If they're happy for you to, you can stroke them gently, calm them, offer them treats. Probably you're not going to get them to play, but if they'll take a treat, they'll probably see if you can get if it's a really good treat. And what will tell you if your dog is calming down is if your dog won't take the treat first off, but then it starts to sniff and leave the treat. That'll tell you your dog is calming down, and you're just going to keep calm with them, and you're not going to get stressed about it. The important thing about this is how you react to fireworks. If you react in a stressed fashion or get uptight, you're going to be increasing your dog's anxiety. So firework goes off, you know, oh, that bloody fire, oh, they're going off again, those fireworks going off, look, the dog's all stressed. If you get all stressed up, you are teaching your dog to be stressed. What you do is you get down and you comfort your dog. You go, oh, it's okay, don't worry, and you just sit with your dog. You're just calm. You're calm and you're confident. And you tell your dog, you know, it's okay, no worries. We're not going to worry about that fireworks. Silly old fireworks. Who cares about them? They're really, really annoying, but we don't care about them. Something like that. You're going to talk calmly, happily, confidently. As I told you in the previous video, you are not going to ignore your dog when it's scared of fireworks. Unless, and this is the thing, if your dog does run away to a crate, for instance, it runs or it goes somewhere, you probably don't want to be on top of it as a dog that seeks you out for comfort. But you certainly don't react to that dog's fear by going, no, you shouldn't be scared. It's something that's been going around in circles, the behavioural circles, you know, the training circles. They say just ignore the dog when it's scared. Don't ever do that. You're not helping your dog. Fear is an emotion, not a behaviour. You cannot reinforce a emotion, if you like. You cannot, it's not like a behaviour which if we reinforce it with food or treats, we increase the likelihood of that behaviour happening. It's not the same. So do never, if your dog wants comfort from you, give that dog comfort. Again, if your dog had run to the crate and it was in there, I would, maybe sit outside the crate just so they can see you, so they know you're there, and say, it's all right, no worries, and talk to them calmly. And again, you could offer them treats, see if they'll take a treat or something like that. It may be the first time that fireworks goes off, they're in such a state you can't do anything much apart from be there. That may be all you can do, but hopefully, if you gradually build up, you will be able to achieve a state where the fireworks go off and you can give your dog treats. There are other things we can obviously use in this situation like this, and there are studies that vary depending on, the studies that say that these things work, the studies that say these things don't work. So it very much depends on the dog. That's what they found with something. So for instance, like these vet wraps that you can wrap your dog up in, which is, they call them, there are various names for them. It's like they had the Thundercoat thing. They wrap them up tightly, so it feels like the dog is being hugged, and they've been advertised as being really successful for helping anxious dogs to overcome their anxiety. There are studies that say, yes, they work, and there are studies that say they're not really effective. And it does seem to come down to the individual dog. So I'm not saying don't try that, but be aware that it might not work for your dog. And they also need to be, you need to prime your dog to wear them before the fireworks night. It doesn't work if you just put it on fireworks. They have to be comfortable wearing that before, and I think there's so many weeks ahead of time that they should be comfortable wearing it as it builds up. So yes, so some dogs that'll work, some dogs it won't. So it's worth a try if you think it might help, but it doesn't always work. The other thing is you can get these plug-ins and collars that release pheromones. Again, there are studies that say they help, and there are studies that say that they don't have much effect at all. And again, it's dependent on the dog. Some dogs seem to react very well to them, and people will say to you, yep, that was the best thing I ever bought. And some people say, well, it didn't seem to have any effect at all. So again, it's something to experiment with. I see no reason why it doesn't. It certainly wouldn't hurt to have one of these plug-ins in the room you're going to have your dog in and have it releasing pheromones. It's not going to hurt. So, it might not make a huge difference, but it's not going to hurt. With all these things, obviously, we're trying to be with our dog. We as owners, we've got the responsibility to be sensible about our dogs and to appreciate that we may have to reconsider our lifestyles to a degree to accommodate a noise-sensitive dog. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe you like to go out to a fireworks display on the 5th of November or around that time when there's lots of fireworks going off. If you've got a noise-sensitive dog, you can't, because you cannot leave them alone in the house with fireworks going off and just go, well, I'll go out and do that, and they'll be. It's not fair. It's not going to solve the problem. They're going to be in a right state, and you obviously can't take them with you to a display because that's not going to help. So you do have to consider these things. If you've got a dog that's severely noise-sensitive, or even not that much, or a puppy, that's another one. If you've got a puppy and you normally go out for a fireworks display, you can't. That year, be at home, make sure you're with the puppy. If you do things right and, it all goes to plan, because we never know, sometimes things can happen without us knowing, then hopefully next year you'll be able to go out because your puppy will be like, yeah, I don't care about fireworks, that's fine. But you do have to be aware of these things. It's not always going to be easy. If you work nights, say, or late nights, you may be in a situation where you just can't help being away from home when these fireworks go off, and that is an issue. Maybe you need to try and find somebody who can go in to the house and be with your dog then, but we do have to make compromises as owners because we've taken on the responsibility of a dog. So we have to make compromises. It's as simple as that. If you've taken on that responsibility of an animal, you've got to be aware that at times you might not be able to do what you want for the sake of that animal. It's what we all do as responsible owners. Same difference. Maybe your dog sleeps downstairs and you sleep upstairs all the year time, but during fireworks maybe your dog needs to come upstairs so that they can be near you, so that they're, so if the noise goes off, you're there to help them. Again, we're looking at trying to alleviate the problem, and so we're going to look at all these different things to alleviate the problem. And anytime we put our dog in a situation where we can't help them, where they're left on their own to cope, then we're going to be setting them back. I know a lot of people on fireworks night, or nights when you're going that, say to themselves, I won't go to dog training in case there's fireworks going off or something like that. I do the opposite. I say, if there's fireworks going off, I'm going to be at dog training. Now, caveat on that, I'm not going to be leaving my dog in a car. I'm not going to have 2 dogs in the car, take 1 dog out, leave 1 dog, no. But my dog's going to be with me the whole time. And why am I going to take him out on fireworks night? Well, I have found that if you take your dog out to something like training and that on a fireworks night, because they're doing something as in training, and depending if they really enjoy their training, hopefully your dogs do, but they're doing training, it could be agility or obedience, they're focusing on you. That is another way of counter-conditioning the behaviour. They've got this high-value thing they do, agility, obedience, whatever, scent work. It's another way of counterbalancing it. I've taken when Sparrow was a puppy, she actually went to puppy foundation agility classes on fireworks night, and fireworks were going off. And she's actually quite sound with fireworks, but yeah, she was working with fireworks going off, and they were going bang, there was colours, that was fine. I've done that, I do that with Swift. If I know that got fireworks coming up. Same with thunderstorms. Swift is reactive a bit to thunderstorms. And I was at training with her not so long ago. Thunderstorm, really big thunderstorm, rattling, really loud. And I could see the ears go back and I could see that. But there was a couple of things coming into play that helped her to cope with that. If she'd been at home, she would have been barking her head off. But she was already primed to work with me. So she was already in work mode. There was lots of good treats going on. So every time there was rattling, I was like, yeah, good girl, I'm going food. She was around other dogs that were calm. And that was, I think, is a big factor. If you're around other dogs that are calm and they're not reacting and they're just getting on with stuff, the dog goes, oh, well, they're okay. And she was doing something agility where she was, high energy, going around, something she could really focus on. And I worked her through that whole thunderstorm doing stuff and she didn't falter. And I was really proud of her. And the same, we had a similar incident at another training club where the roller door was put down during our class and she got really stressed and reactive. And again, I calmed her, got treats into her, got there, played games with her, got her working with me, and she did all her agility. So again, we worked through it. We put a positive onto a negative. I think that's the big factor to look at there. So yeah, I do take my dogs training, even if it's on a fireworks night or thunderstorm. I don't say, no, I'm not. Or obviously, if I had a dog that was absolutely petrified, I wouldn't put them in that situation. But my dogs are not to that level. They just react, they get spooked. So I would take them and be fine with that. And I say my dogs, I mean Swift, because the other ones stay at home when they're not fussed. So I hope that makes some sense. I hope that gives you some ideas and plans of how to get through the fireworks season as best as possible. In our next episode, we're going to look at emergencies. What we do if our dog is so severely scared that they're trembling or something happens while we're out in the walk. We're looking at that emergency management of behaviour. So I hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video. And if you have, you might like to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And I hope to see you all again very, very soon.